here with the video on number 7. I don't think I explained what we're doing on 7 yet this year. We didn't start these projects to November 1st, so it's really tough getting everything wrapped up quickly when you're dealing with winter weather. But we're getting there, so I just want to explain that too. We weren't even sure if we were going to be able to get to number 7 because we did number 1 and number 2. Number 2, last week we finished sodding, so all that is needed to be done there is concrete and sand. Again, the concrete, we got to wait till temperatures are consistent a little bit longer. They have to be above 38 degrees. So we'll get that in. I'm not worried about finishing that up. We're always on this time frame. But I do want to show you what we're doing on 7. I made a couple little changes. This is one of the holes that I could not get a good photograph of. The pictures that I'm working off of from 1964, like we explained before, were overhead views, and this was actually all trees around here. The whole back had trees there all the way along the left side, and you couldn't get a visual of this green complex. So I'm working off of what I know Tillinghast does, and I'll show you here, for instance. So we did the same thing in the back of the green there, is we brought in those humps. And like I said, short par 3s, Tillinghast, if he knew you were gonna have on a wedge on your hand, he wanted you to be able to be creative with it. So he built in those mounds and those humps for creativity with your wedge. So you could spin it off there or bump and run off of it. So it brings in more shot selection. And architects, if you watch a lot of golf, a lot of architects think that short par 4s are the best holes in golf. They always talk about the 10th hole at Riviera. A lot of architects think that might be their favorite hole in all the world. And I've heard people say that before. The reason is because it gives you so many options. But when you have a short par 4, you have to make it a little bit, the green complex, a little bit more difficult, because if you're going to choose to go for it, and it's a risk reward. If you don't get it and you're off to the sides, an architect wants it to be a little more challenging around the green. So that's why green complexes on short par 4s, you know, you'll see more undulation on greens, like 10 for instance. Riviera, as I speak about, I worked out there for a tournament, so I'm very familiar with that course. Their 10th hole is really awkward. You can go for it, but it's such a small landing area to go for it. So a lot of pros, their better options hitting an iron off the tee and punching a wedge in, because the green's shaped like a kidney bean and there's just not much room for landing. This is the same aspect. So I just want to explain that. So what we did was I made it a little more challenging around the green. Since I didn't have photos, I did not like the teardrop approach they had. To me, it didn't look correct, and it was just really out of place. I don't know who would land in that part of the approach area. So what I did was I shortened it a little bit. I made it look a little bit more natural. We have a straighter line across the bunkers, and I widened the approach. So now if you go for it and your landing area is here, if you hit around in here, your ball has options. It might go anywhere. It could roll into the bunker. You can see we tied the short grass into the bunker on both sides. So the bunkers will come into play more. Plus we're gonna have a rough out in front that's a little bit thicker. Now that we got the trees down on the left side, they were dead, by the way. They got injured when we had that huge rainstorm, and I think it was 2019. And this had water all up to the hill. That killed those trees, so we had to remove that. The good news with that is we're gonna have better rough throughout there. So now off the tee, you're gonna have to think about being in the rough, because it should get a lot thicker with these more sunlight and the more water to it. It's going to take a little bit of time. We're not going to resod that whole area. We want to see what it does. What I like to do is, after the first year, instead of throwing a bunch of money into sodding and everything like that, when you take trees down, you get more sunlight you're going to get better grass. So we want to see how it reacts first before you rip everything up. That way it looks consistent. But as you can see, the green complex is, the green itself's a little bit bigger. We made it a little bit bigger here on the right hand side so we could get another pin or two over the bunker. When you have a short wedge in here, you want to make the bunkers come into play as much as possible, make it as difficult a wedge shot as it could be. And then, like I said, the approach over on the left, what I'm doing with this is we're going to sod that area over there with fescue and let it grow up. A lot of people like number 15, so it's going to have the same look on the left hand side as that. And then pretty much the bunkers itself stayed the same. We just we resodded it and shaved it down a little bit. But these were very good bunkers to begin with, minus the washouts from the water, but the style of the bunker is pretty consistent with everything we have. So we didn't change those too much. That's about it, really. The biggest part of this is this approach. And as you can see when you're looking back at it now, you can see the old sod. You can see how much wider it is, and your ball's going to do different things here when you hit into it. So should create more opportunities for different shots when you're around the green, which is what we always like at short par fours. And we'll get the sod in for this next week too. Right now, we also understand, you know, the weather's been pretty nice through March here, but it does take us a long time to get the course back to good shape. When you're not working on it for 3 months with all that weather, you have debris everywhere. We have to get that all cleaned up so we can mow. So the rest of this week, we're gonna focus on cleaning to get it, you know, we're happy everybody's excited to come out and play, and we wanna give the cleanest course that we could give you. We don't want to be miserable out here with goose crap and stuff like that. So that's what we're focusing on the next couple days. And as we get cleaning, you know, the exciting part about this time of year is every day the golf course is going to look better. So you see progress every day. So that's what we like about it. And you're going to see that this week. So this weekend coming up is going to be much better than the previous weekend. So I hope everybody's excited. I'm glad to see people out golfing. That makes us excited. And we'll have this sodded next week, and I'll do a couple more videos to show you where we're at with other stuff. Thanks.